talking about people behind their back in a bad way. No, this is not ghiba. This is only part of ghiba. Ghiba is when you're sitting down with your friends, telling stories about your friend, whether it's true or not. If they don't want it mentioned, then you are committing ghiba. Making up lies about these things is ghiba. So why do we sit there and commit ghiba? Why is it that we have to put ourselves in situations where we're going to regret it later? Like we read in the verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that everything that we hear is going to be held against us. We need to stop the ghiba once we hear it. Because really, what's the purpose of talking about ghiba? Unfortunately, a lot of people, look at it as being gossip. And they think, gossip is good. Or, gossip is funny, or it's only gossip. The Prophet ﷺ was walking one time and they passed by a cemetery or two graves, and he said, these two people are being punished in the grave, one of which was committing namima. He was just going around talking about other people in a bad way. And then another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says, the al-muflis, the bankrupt among you, is that a person who comes with a lot of hasanat, a lot of good deeds, but then he hit this person, and he cursed that one, and he talked about this one, and he did all of these different things about these people, so they start taking away from his hasanat or her hasanat, and then they end up with nothing. Imagine all the work that you do. And we all do good deeds, in one way or another. And we all work hard for it. Getting hasanat, some hasanat are easy, but a lot of hasanat are hard to come by. So imagine all the hard work that you worked for, all the good deeds that you got, are going to be taken away from you because you either A, talked about people when they didn't want you talking about it, or you just sat there and accepted the ghiba and listened to it and took it in and then went around and spread it. How many families were destroyed because of ghiba? How many communities were, divided because of ghiba? And if we sit there and think that we don't have ghiba in our community, then we're just fooling ourselves. If we don't think that we commit ghiba sometimes, then we are fooling ourselves. How many times we just sat there and talked about people, whether we intentionally meant it or not. Remember, the Prophet ﷺ defined ghiba as talking about people when they didn't want that topic to be talked about. Or when you talked about them in something that they hated. Even though that actually what you said is true. But just because that person didn't want it, now you're committing ghiba. Another hadith, which really shows that the impact and the seriousness, in the earlier verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala associate, ghiba with eating the flesh of your fellow brother or sister. Another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ saying that, when he did the Isra and Mi'raj, he saw people, their fingernails were from copper and they were scratching their faces. And when he asked Jibreel about it, the angel Jibreel, he told him that these people were eating, the flesh of humans. So this is a very serious topic, a very serious issue that we have to address in our community. And before address it in our community, we have to address it ourselves. There's nothing that can destroy a community or a family more than talking about your brother or sister or family member, more than ghiba. So why do we do it? Let's look at really the psychological part of why we commit ghiba. Let's try to reason and talk to ourselves and see why we are committing that ghiba. Is it jealousy of that person? Are you trying to make him look bad? Or are you just trying to get, temporary satisfaction of making yourself feel good? That you know something that others don't? Are you trying to make somebody look bad? Trust me, whatever the reason is, it's not worth losing hasanat for. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. Ask God for forgiveness. Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala ashraf khalqillah. Dear brothers and sisters, we talked about, how seriously danger, or, the danger that ghiba brings to our community and our society. Now, scholars said there are 6 exceptions where, I don't want to say ghiba, but actually, kind of when you're relating some information about somebody where people might consider it ghiba, that they said it's permissible to do. And we'll just, quickly run over these, but at the same time, the scholars said that don't let these 6 reasons be the reason you commit ghiba. Because there's always going to be a different way where you can go around it. The first one is at-tadallum, which is if somebody came and did you wrong, and then you just need to go to the judge or go to the person in charge and say, this person did this, and this to me, so you can get your rights back. And in that case, the scholars said that, yeah, this is okay, because you're not doing it out of, trying to get that person in trouble, whatever other reason, or just to get, that personal satisfaction, but you're actually trying to get, your due diligence right. And the second one, they said if you're trying to change, somebody's behavior, if they're doing sin, if they're doing something wrong. And he said the only time you would do this is if you know that the person you're talking to will actually change their behavior. If somebody's sinning, or if somebody's drinking, and you know that talking to their brother or talking to their best friend will change their behavior, then you go and talk to them. And if there are other ways where you can change that person, then avoid the ghiba. And the third one is, trying to get an Islamic ruling on a certain situation. When you're going to imam, or you're going to a sheikh, or you go to a mufti and say, this and this happened between me and that person. What's the ruling here? What do I need to do? And the scholars said again, you don't need to mention that person's name. You can just say, me and another person had a conflict, and this happened. How do we deal with it? And the fourth one is when you're trying to warn people of somebody bad, somebody that does